Oops. What is going on, peeps? I know y'all seeing the wrong title. I don't know why it's doing that, but whatever. Hmm. What's up, peeps? This is weird. It's still giving me. Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Hopefully it fixed all that. What's up? Who wants to shout out this lovely, what is it, Thursday? It's lovely Thursday morning. In the Fed. See Kimis Yo, Free Energy, good morning. It's Mitchie. They're really not letting me change my profile. Or my hope everybody's seeing everything. Jubo Kutta Pum Pum Prom. Yeah, bro. Peter Kim, Peter Klim, what's going on? Love you too, man. I appreciate it. Just trying to do what I can do while I can do it. Joe Rogan asked Tulsi questions I've always wanted answers for, and she didn't disappoint. Whew, you ain't never lied about that. We're actually going to talk about one of the questions that he asked her today. It's going to be, did Tulsi do another Joe Rogan show? Yes, he did. And it was for both of them, right? For both Joe Rogan and for Tulsi, that was one of the best interviews that either of them have done. Like for Joe Rogan as an interviewer, and for Tulsi, even like one of her favorite interviews was the one that she did. One of my favorite interviews of Tulsi was the one that she did on my show. And that was mostly because we asked her some tough questions. We asked her questions that people still have not asked her. Like, for example, the CFR question. Like, how did she get on Council for Foreign Relations? Why is she still on there? What does she plan on doing? Like, so that was we asked some pretty tough questions. But Joe asked her questions, and because of the format of the show, right? And it's obvious, right? That if you were ever going to spend 2.5 hours of your presidential campaign doing an interview, it would be on the Joe Rogan show. So it really gave the audience and the voters a chance to get to know who Tulsi was outside of the sound bites, outside of this, 2-minute, 3-minute videos. It gave the audience a chance to know who she is as a person, how she came to this level of political evolution, and really spiritual evolution as well, as you can tell, that a lot of other politicians have not yet achieved. Even if they say the right things most of the time, Tulsi, in my opinion, as demonstrated in that interview, was just on a completely different level. And I think that most people can't really say otherwise. I mean, when she said, I joined the military based on a lie. Like, when she said that, I was like, oh, wow. Because nobody else says. I didn't join the military based on a lie. I joined the military because I was broke as a joke, and I wanted to bring some security to my family. But for her to have said that, and she's a proud service member, but that lets you know just how real she is compared to a lot of the other politicians. NASA spreading stupidity again. What's new? Awesome. Have to check it out after this. Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about, like I said, one of the segments of that interview. Hey, Niko, have you seen the Robbie Martin's take on Tulsi's anti-war rhetoric? No, but if I know Robbie, and I know him well enough, it's probably him talking shit because he doesn't like anybody whatsoever. I watch a lot of Joe Rogan Experience, and I've never seen such a positive reaction in the comment section. Literally not a single negative comment. I know, it was weird. But you know what's crazy? If you go to her Fox News interviews, it's the same thing. If you go to her CNN interviews on YouTube, like the first few comments, obviously they have their bots go in and do whatever they do. But after that, it's just a bunch of positive comments. It's very rare that you see an interview with Tulsi where people have not seen her before that interview and you get negative feedback in the comment section. Which is why I always laugh when people are like, oh, she doesn't have a chance of winning. I'm like, okay, keep believing that. Keep believing that she doesn't have a chance of winning. Keep believing that she isn't reaching anybody new. Keep believing that she isn't bringing people into the democratic process, and keep believing that she doesn't have crossover appeal. And she will keep proving you wrong. Every time. Oh, somebody tagged me on Facebook because they're upset that I had to go in on AOC. Oh, that's so sad for them. We'll get started in about 30 seconds. If you all could like this video, share it. Make sure you're still subscribed. I've seen independent media start changing their views on her, with the exception of some. Yeah. Basically everybody that I've seen has begun to evolve on their views on her, except for David Dole. David Dole, I feel like, and y'all gonna laugh at me when I say this, and this is partially why we don't make our live streams. Not that I care, but this is a T. I be talking shit, so I don't make my live streams public after a couple of hours. You got to be a Patreon to get the whole live stream. But I'm pretty sure. So I think that David Dole has like a crush on Anna Kasparian. And so because of me and Tulsi, or me dragging Anna Kasparian, and then Tulsi embarrassing Anna Kasparian with, just facts. And then basically Anna's own fans dragging her. It seems like David Dole has, of Rational National, by the way, has like this weird, like he hates her. Like he hates Tulsi. Like he will straight, the other day in one of his videos, I bullshit you not, people, he literally said, Tulsi, I don't know if Tulsi is taking money from private fundraising. I mean, she may have before. I don't know. We don't know this, but we have to, this is why we have candidates like Bernie and AOC and Elizabeth Warren. What? Huh? Did you put Elizabeth Warren in the same breath as Bernie Sanders and Tulsi, and then simultaneously tried to malign Tulsi as if in case you don't know, the irony of it is Tulsi actually has the most progressive fundraising platform out of the entire race. So, just in case you were curious. So, it was absolutely as ridiculous as it sounded. Oh, man. That is the perfect way to describe Dave. He is the classic white knight. And if you don't know what that is, go to urbandictionary.com. With that being said, people, I would love to go ahead and get started. And like I said, if you could like this video, share it, make sure you still subscribe and all that good stuff. And don't forget, if you want to comment read, that you desperately have to get read, don't hesitate to drop a super chat and we'll get that comment. We'll stop what we're doing and we'll get that comment read. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa, and I am your humble host, Niko House. I want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers, of course, and everybody else who's recently become a subscriber to the channel. Today we have a fun show. We're going to talk a little bit about Kyle just dragging Liz Cheney. We're going to talk about this. I don't know if you all saw the video I did earlier this week regarding the Tulsi supporter who had his mic taken away from him by Democratic leadership. While he asked about unity and he asked the question to Tulsi, she snatched the mic right out of his hand to talk about all the unity that they've done. But they haven't. Let's be clear about that. But we have some interesting information about her, and we also have an interview from MCSC Network's very own Craig Jardula, or Pasta Jardula, as many of you know him, from the Convo Couch. So we're going to look at that as well. With that being said, Liz Cheney decided to malign Rashida Tlaib by taking a tiny piece of her quote, a tiny little piece, wee little piece of her quote, little one, and pretending as if Rashida Tlaib was basically advocating for the Holocaust. So on Twitter, let me bring this up for y'all. On Twitter, Liz Cheney said, here's Rep. Rashida's direct quote. Of course, as usual, I mean, and this must be a warmonger daughter thing where they pick and choose what words and what sentences they want to acknowledge when they're having a conversation. Give me 1 second. Let me turn my other light on because it got dark in here out of nowhere. Give me 1 second. All right, we back. But yeah, this might be one of those daughters of a warmonger mentality. I don't know. I really can't tell you. But she says, here's Rashida Tlaib's direct quote. There is a calming feeling I always tell folks when I think of the Holocaust, and her history of what happened after is a fantasy based on lies spread to delegitimize the state of Israel. As you can imagine, Kyle was a little irritated, like most of us would be. And I love Kyle on Twitter. You know, that's the homie. Because he be going in. And it's almost like I don't know how he's... This man sees some of these tweets and he ends up making their tweets more popular by roasting them. Because I would have never even seen that tweet if it wasn't for Kyle adding her on Twitter. And Kyle has been known to at politicians with no shame whatsoever. I love it. Kyle says, "You're a vicious liar." The rest of her quote is about how the destruction of Palestine at least gave safe haven to persecuted Jews. You're pretending a sitting congresswoman is pro-Holocaust. That's literally what she is doing. And your father has the blood of 200,000 innocent Iraqis on his hands. Tweet at him instead. Isn't that the realest shit ever? It's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous that someone like is our politics has become a joke in this country. Right. It's become a joke. This is what passes for a politician in 2019, pretending as if a sitting congresswoman is pro-Holocaust, with the subtle undertone of she is pro-Holocaust. Why? Because she is pro-Palestinian. Why? Because she is Muslim. And I think Rashida Tlaib is also Palestinian as well. So like, because she is Palestinian, therefore she is pro-Holocaust. That's what basically Liz Cheney, and Liz Cheney isn't the only one who's tried to insinuate this about either Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar. And it's disgusting. And so instead of me or Kyle telling you what Rashida Tlaib said, how about we just let Rashida Tlaib tell us so we can hear how ridiculous Liz Cheney sounded.
Something of a stir by coming out in favor of a one-state solution in Israel and Palestine. And I think you may be the only Democrat who's publicly supported a one-state solution. So what is your vision for a one-state solution that meets both Palestinian and Israeli or Jewish national aspirations?
Absolutely. And let me tell you, I mean, for me, just a few, I think 2 weeks ago or so, we celebrated, or just it took a moment, I think, in our country to remember the Holocaust. And there's a kind of a calming feeling I always tell folks when I think of the Holocaust and the tragedy of the Holocaust and the fact that it was my ancestors, Palestinians, who lost their land and some lost their lives, their livelihood, their human dignity, their existence in many ways have been wiped out on some people's passport. I mean, just all of it was in the name of trying to create a safe haven for Jews post the Holocaust, post the tragedy and horrific persecution of Jews across the world at that time. And I love the fact that it was my ancestors that provided that, right, in many ways. But they did it.
Oh, man. Wow. Can you believe Liz Cheney? Did y'all hear that? She said, not only did she obviously show discontent towards the Holocaust and sympathy and empathy towards the people of the that were victimized by Hitler, the Nazis, and everyone who pretended like the Holocaust didn't exist because of their they just did not like Jewish people because of things that had happened during World War I that had nothing to do really with Jewish people. Like it had something to do with one person who claimed to be Jewish, who was an Ashkenazi Jew. But outside of that, the Jewish people were merely being persecuted based off of fear mongering. And instead of Rashida Tlaib piling on about how much she dislikes the Israeli government, because she could have done that. She could. She took the opportunity to express that she is prideful that if her ancestors were to die for anything, It was to provide a safe haven for people who had been persecuted, that had faced tragedy unlike anything we had seen up until that point in modern history. And Liz Cheney took that and said, Rashida Tlaib said that there is a calming feeling I always tell folks when I think about the Holocaust. And that her history of what happened after is a fantasy. So Liz Cheney is saying that Rashida Tlaib is making up her ancestors dying. That's what Liz Cheney just said. I want to rewind that for if y'all just came in. I want to rewind that one more time because I feel like that was just like wow. Like I'm like kind of taken aback after listening to that because it's one thing to read it, it's another thing to hear it. And for Liz Cheney to take that quote and turn it into something nefarious or insidious is disgusting. Like I said, it seems like politics in 2019 is a joke. But hey, let's listen to that quote again. Like Liz Cheney, Meghan McCain too. Can't leave her out. That's a sick human being. Hopefully it's fixed itself now. Let me know if we're good. The audio should be back in a second. Just had to do some refreshing. Audio should be back now. Let me know if we're good. Oh, that could have something to do with it. There is a thunderstorm right outside of my house now, out of nowhere. So that could have something to do with my internet slowing down. All right, sounds good. Yeah, there's a bad thunderstorm outside of my house. Good God. That's all right. Don't worry about it, guys. The clips will be up. So don't worry about it. At least you can hear me. All right. So yeah, like I was saying, this is one of Tulsi's best interviews, and I think this is one of the best sit downs that Joe Rogan has done. Right? They covered a lot in that interview. Yesterday, we talked briefly about her pardoning Julian Assange. She said she would pardon Julian Assange. She would pardon Chelsea Manning. She would pardon Snowden. And she also said that not only would she pardon them, but she wants to address the system that forces people to seek refuge whenever they have some vital information that would absolutely be vital to national security, right? Not necessarily because it would endanger the United States, but because it would, if like it got around, for example, that we were just shooting journalists from, I don't know, Black Hawk helicopters like we had been, without anybody facing accountability, then it would undermine our place in the international community, right? It would undermine our status in the international community. And so she said she wants to fix the system so that if people wanted to come and tell the truth, that they would have a place to do so. So, I hope everybody can still see me and hear me okay. Let's see what we got here. But yeah, so I don't know if, can everybody see me? We're good? All right, good stuff. I think we're good. All right, just want to make sure. So yeah, we're going to play this clip. We're going to play this clip of Tulsi discussing social media censorship. Something that I don't think gets discussed enough, honestly. I think that most people would agree with me. Give me a second. All right.
For president is the impact of social media. It's just tenfold what it used to be. But with that also comes this reality that we're living in right now, where there's only a few companies that are controlling the discourse in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have essentially Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook owns Instagram.
That's right.
And there's a couple other small ones, but that's the bulk of our discourse.
Yeah.
What concern do you have about these private companies controlling the vast majority of communication?
By the way, what Joe is talking about is, so like there was a study that was done during the 2016 election. I'm sure it's grown substantially since then. That said that just on Facebook, 50% of the country got their news like almost exclusively from Facebook. So with that, we've seen ex-CIA operatives, I'm not even exaggerating, ex-CIA operatives step into roles to control the flow of news on Facebook. Clearly, that's a problem, right? Okay, yeah, I think we would all agree with that. And so that's what Joe Rogan is referring to.
Between people on social media.
Yeah, it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous when you think about it. And there's a few things. There's, gosh, with Facebook and Google for that matter, you know, they can set their algorithms. Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook can set his algorithm to control what information is coming across our news feed in Facebook. What are the stories that we're seeing? Instagram, same thing. With Google, they can control when you punch in something, what are the first stories that you're going to see on the first page that pops up.
So I can use Tulsi as an example of that. If you all recall, when she first announced, and I'm not even joking, the day she announced, they had stories prepped the night before so that when you Googled Tulsi Gabbard, all you would see in the headlines of Google, Tulsi the Assad apologist. What is Tulsi going to do about her LGBTQ problem? Tulsi, the Daily Kos articles. I mean, it was an onslaught, right? And on the other side of that coin, in 2016, Google was using the algorithms to basically bury any negative articles of Hillary Clinton. For example, if you Googled Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, that shit would make you believe that Hillary Clinton was a patron saint. And I'm not even, and if any of you all were active during the 2016 election, you all know exactly what I mean. And then we come to find out that Google was always in Hillary Clinton's pockets. We found that out later on down the line. So like when we're saying, I mean, this is the largest search engine in the world. So if Google owns, obviously Google, but then it owns YouTube, and then Facebook owns Instagram and obviously Facebook. And then Twitter is its own thing where I think that more so than news on Twitter, we're seeing the dialogue of the news that we perhaps have read on other social media platforms or YouTube. And they're controlling how we see everything. They're convincing, they literally, I remember this guy it was a black dude who said he wanted to take a peek inside of the MAGA world. So he went incognito and pretended as if he was a MAGA supporter, right? And he said instead, so his entire news feed changed. Even though he was like, because what he was hoping to achieve was like, okay, if I go incognito and pretend like I'm a MAGA supporter, if I pretend like I'm a white supremacist, then am I going to still see news from both sides of the fence? And what he quickly found out, at least on YouTube, was that the moment that he started using certain keywords, even though he was still looking at both types of videos, but mostly MAGA because he wanted to see what would happen. The moment he started using certain keywords more frequently, the moment that he was engaging with a specific type of person more frequently, that's all they would show on his timeline was MAGA videos. That's all it began to affect his Facebook feed was MAGA supporters, MAGA news. So it's problematic when we see the news being controlled by a few social media corporations, and then they're creating an echo chamber where it doesn't facilitate legitimate discourse. All it does is foment negativity and convince you that all there is in this world is hate. So what Tulsi is speaking to is true beyond true.
When you think about that kind of power of influence that it has on the American people, literally being held within the hands of a couple of people, unchecked and without oversight or transparency, it's incredibly dangerous. Let's talk about free speech. There's just been news recently about Facebook banning certain individuals from having Facebook accounts because of their speech. They disagree with the speech that they're using, or the things that they're talking about, the ideas that they're pushing forward. Unchecked. First Amendment rights going completely out the window. And
the
once
argument is
again,
they don't apply because it's a private company, right?
Yes, but they're trying to get the best of both worlds.
Now, oh, go ahead. I'm gonna let Tulsi say that.
The fact that
So what she's referring to is a right-wing guy. I think he used to work for Alex Jones at one point. And maybe one of you all can say his name in the super chats. And I can't, because I can't remember at this time. I think, Paul Joseph or something like that. He was banned from Facebook. And he's right-wing. I don't really like the guy. He plays victim all the time. It is what it is. But whether or not I like him is irrelevant. And I feel like this is significant because Tulsi is bringing this up knowing that Paul Joseph is of the right-wing ideology. Notice something. Unlike me, Tulsi didn't bring up his ideology. Tulsi didn't bring up whether or not he was a Democrat or Republican. Tulsi didn't bring up the fact that he worked for Alex Jones, because guess what? All of that in regards to free speech is inconsequential. If he directly violated Facebook's rules, like directly, they needed to detail exactly how he did so, in what video he did it in, and explain to the world why he was taken down. And I love the fact that Tulsi didn't bring up what he stands for, what his ideology is, who he prefers as far as the president. Like, I'm glad she didn't, because it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we've seen already that the left has been silenced. Police to Police on Facebook got taken down. Rania Khalek got taken down off of Facebook as well, and several others. And it didn't matter if they were right wing or left wing. If their narrative was anti-establishment, they're basically taken down. So we can't pretend as if this isn't an issue of free speech when we know at this point that the majority of Facebook's influence came from In-Q-Tel, right? In-Q-Tel invested a shit ton of money. In-Q-Tel is the CIA's venture capitalist firm, the same one who gave Jeff Bezos $600 million to buy Washington Post. The same one. The only reason that Amazon became a profitable business was because In-Q-Tel, the CIA, invested in them. The only reason that Facebook rose above all of the rest of the companies, and somehow Mark Zuckerberg is worth like 80 or 90 billion. Like, Jack isn't even worth that much. And I would argue at this point that Twitter is more popular than Facebook. It's more active than Facebook. And Jack isn't even worth close to that amount. That's saying something. And it's because, in my humble opinion, they have to pull out a face, right? Mark Zuckerberg is a face. He wanted to be a mogul. He wanted to be an idol. So they dangle that carrot in front of you and say, hey, if you let us take over this, we'll put you in the front. We'll make you the face of this thing. We'll even give you a movie about it. They let Mark Zuckerberg in 2004 go on to CNN and talk about Facebook, and Facebook hadn't even been invented yet. And then the CIA had a program that they were creating, which does exactly what Facebook does today. They shut down that program like the day before Facebook announced. And 2 years ago, one of the women on that project ended up working for Facebook, basically to filter information. These are the facts. So why is it that they're allowed, like no other politician has talked about this until it affects their side? Am I right or wrong? No other politician has talked about. Remember, Elizabeth Warren was throwing a fit because her video got taken down. Okay, Liz, but did you throw a fit when everyone else's pages, not videos, their entire pages, their businesses were affected based off of nothing? Based off of standing up to the establishment narrative. And I still remember getting that update. I'm sure many of you who used to be on Facebook or who are on Facebook remember the update as well, where they said, we're going to determine what fake news is, and we're going to take it down. There's no debate about it. There's no, you can try to file for a review to challenge it, but that doesn't matter. Ask Rania Kelly. They didn't give her a chance. The guys from Police to Police. These are the facts. So I'm glad that Tulsi is speaking out against this hypocrisy. And like she said, they want the best of both worlds, because they say that they're private. But how private are you when the CIA, a government entity, was your primary investor? And their Facebook is worth, I think a couple of $100 billion, if I recall. And that sounds great, right? The problem is, and you would think that it would be a non-factor, but I think that the CIA funded 30% of Facebook, something to that extent. Imagine ripping 30% of your total net worth right from under your feet. You think that won't keep somebody in check? It would. 30% means I'm firing employees. Means I'm not worth 80 billion anymore. 30% could potentially mean that 3/4 of my liquid cash is gone, because you got to pay them out now. So that's a thing. That's what they use. The CIA, that's what they use to control these big tech companies. The same thing they use to control everybody else. Money. CIA owns half of Silicon Valley at this point. Let's hear what Tulsi has to say more.
That, they're claiming to say, hey, this is a free space for open communication for everyone.
Right.
While at the same time going and saying, actually, you know what, Joe, I don't like what you're saying about this, so we're going to ban you and whoever your friends are from this conversation. I think that's a big problem. It undermines our First Amendment rights. Well, then you look at privacy, the privacy concerns of all the information that they're collecting in Facebook from us, all the information that they're collecting from us with Google, and how they're monetizing that and selling or sharing that information with other people without our knowledge or agreement.
That's the part, right? The agreement that most people didn't understand, that your data is a huge commodity.
That's right.
And we signed up for these things. I mean, who reads terms of service agreements?
Yeah.
Have you ever read one?
Yeah. No.
I've never read one of them. I just say, okay,
yeah.
all right.
I start to get through like the first two paragraphs, like, okay.
I hope it's not ugly. Hope it's nothing terrible in there.
You know what I think back to? There is a South Park episode.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Tulsi watches South Park. I was not expecting her to say that, because I was thinking about that whenever they talked about the terms of service agreement. I was like, man, yeah, it reminds me of that South Park episode. And then when she said that, oh wow, y'all, I just got deja vu. Just now. I distinctly remember talking about this, and I was thinking in my dream, whenever this moment happened, I remember distinctly saying, why would Tulsi Gabbard be talking about South Park? That's silly. This isn't real. Oh, clearly it was. Deja vu was crazy. Anyway, let's continue.
That is specifically about the terms and conditions. And I watched it a long time ago, but every time I see one of those things pop up, signing the terms and things, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. That was Cartman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, something happened with him. Yeah. We can't talk about it. but there's a thing that they're doing. There's a couple things they're doing, but one of the things they're doing with this, with your data, they find out what you're interested in. They find out what you're interested in engaging on.
Yeah.
And for many people, that's outrage. So for many,
I would also like to add to that, they also use it to obviously sell things to you. Everybody at this point knows if you have a smartphone, they're listening to your conversation. It's ridiculous. The very, very super specific. I am a 6'1" black guy who loves sports. I love cartoons. I love fashion and clothes like that. Yeah, I get my fashion ads. But you know what ads I get more than anything, yo? I'm not even exaggerating. I get ads for cat stuff. Yes, I love my kittens. I love my babies. Y'all, but how the hell does Facebook, out of all the things that they can assume, Facebook and Instagram, out of all the things they assume I'd be interested in, you know what you would love some cat stuff. Do I look like a cat guy? I mean, I don't like stereotype, but come on, peeps. If you go to my stories, very rare. Actually, no, my stories now are a lot of my cats. I love my babies, but I'm just saying. I know for a fact that they're listening to our conversations. And if you all have seen, there's this commercial that the Facebook has created a video chat software or video chat device where they follows you around the house. What do you think that's for? And have you noticed who they are pitching to? Funny enough, there's also a South Park episode where they talk about infomercials targeting the older generation, right? Because it's become so easy to buy things now. And even easier, right? The moment that an older person like a baby boomer learns how to buy some stuff, Lord Jesus, sometimes like my grandma, she be buying stuff all the time. But my grandma's also a techno weenie. Like she just loves technology. She's always been like that. They've been marketing this to older people because they're the ones who tend clearly to buy the most based off of ads they see on Facebook. And if you can look at what's in that person's house all of a sudden and capture the images, which clearly we know they can do, they can then market to you ads on Facebook where like, oh, look at that couch, looking a little run down. Show her furniture ads. Show her, repairman ads. Oh, look, she has animals. Show her cute pet stuff. She has rugs. Show her that. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that, because think about it. In reality, having a device that will chat via Facebook is the stupidest thing ever. You have iPhones, you have iPads, you have FaceTime, you have WhatsApp. You can already video chat via your iPad through the Messenger app for Facebook. Like, there are so many ways that you can video chat. Why would you want to do it through Facebook? And why would you want to buy an entire device? Because it's not really to make a profit off of that device specifically. It doesn't cost them much to make that device. It's what they can make in the ad revenue.
People, it's the things that piss you off the most. Like if you have a real problem with Catholic priests getting away with having sex with little boys, you will think that that's happening every minute of every day all across the world because it's going to be in your news feed constantly because they know that's what makes you engage.
Right.
So the algorithm is your feed is going to be very different than my feed.
Yeah.
Because I engage on different things than you do.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is even if they're not calculating, if it's not on purpose, they're not trying to get people outraged. It's not like they're trying to rabble-rouse. But what they are doing is because they have an ad-supported model, they gravitate towards the outrageous because that's what people get excited about, and that's what people make multiple posts about,
Exactly.
and that's how they make their revenue. Like It's a bad ad model. It's an ad model that inadvertently supports outrage.
Yeah.
And it makes people think the
And
world's a worse place.
divisiveness and all of it.
And the tribal boundaries between the two sides on these issues are more tense, and you would think that discourse and the ability to freely communicate would kind of open that up and people would kind of understand each other better. But it's not happening. It's like, Twitter is a garbage fire all day long. It's just fire.
Yep.
Like you can't post anything about anything, and there's people just jumping on people, and it's a crazy thing that has happened that we gravitate towards the outrageous.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be rewarded financially. I
Yeah.
think
Joe just said it all, right? They go out of the way to create echo chambers, like I said earlier, just to foment outrage and hatred. It's not productive. Twitter can be a useful tool. Facebook, I don't even know if Facebook can be useful anymore, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, it's bad. It's getting bad, and it seems like it's getting worse. Tulsi being a victim, once again, of the negativity being fomented on Twitter. So, I want to go ahead and change topics a little bit. A lot of you all, one second. A lot of you all remember maybe 2 or 3 days ago, I think it was. I did a video covering an event that Tulsi Gabbard did in Malibu, where the supporter in the audience was asking her a question, and a Democratic Party member actually took the mic away from him. I'm not even just whoop, just straight like that. Excuse me? I didn't know that was allowed. But I want to go ahead, just in case you missed that particular video, we'll go ahead and play it here really fast. 1 second.
Hi, Tulsi. So I wanted to ask you, I shared a video a week and a half ago on Twitter that went viral, and you were asked about being smeared, and you mentioned that most of the smears were from fellow Democrats. And, a lot of us leftists, we felt cheated in the 2016 primaries with Bernie Sanders.
In case you didn't hear that. In case you didn't hear that, 'cause I know the clip is pretty low. He's basically said, I saw a video where you said that the people that primarily smear you are Democrats, and a lot of us are people who were cheated in 2016. Now, really quick, I want for you to notice something. You hear how many people clapped in that video? Because there is, for some reason, people think that that's not a topic of discussion. That's not an issue. That's a non-factor in how people will vote in 2020. And I'm here to tell you that when someone else acknowledges the reality and the pain of what happened in 2016, where basically we realized, okay, wow, our democracy is way more fractured than we thought, they will have hundreds of thousands of voters on their side, because this is something that people have been screaming from the rooftops for quite some time. And yet there are people in states like California, safe states for the most part, New York, where they say, oh, let's just move on. You don't live in a state, well, they do live in a state that's predominantly blue, but they don't deal with a lot of the problems that the rest of the country deals with in a lot of different ways, right? California has its problems. A lot of those problems do come from neoliberals, but they also have a lot of good things as well. That's not the case in a lot of places. There's some states where there is no good. Alabama, right? There are some states where it's only good in very specific metropolitan areas. If you go to Florida, yeah, things are pretty good in Miami. Things are pretty good in Orlando. Go to any other city, though. Jobs are slow. Real estate industry is horrible. Healthcare is absolute trash. So you can't preach about, oh, we need to move on. We can't relitigate 2016. How are we relitigating it? We're still litigating 2016 because nobody has been held accountable. So that's why I find it interesting that everybody says that nobody cares about what happened in 2016, but you hear all these people. By the way, there was overflow. So this is a full packed house, and there was overflow in this particular room, and there was more overflow in her LA rally as well. And so, yeah, I feel like that's just an important point to make.
And clearly, it's really raw for us. And
Mr. Broken Ass said no unity, revolution, and jail war criminals. I'm down for that.
I'm afraid that it's going to happen again this next year. So will you stand up for us if that happens? Will you be our voice? Will you stand up to the Democratic Party? Because, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
I know you can't say much. I know you have
No, look.
design and stuff. You can't
No. Look,
You see her face? Hold up. Look, I'm gonna see if I can get it. I'm gonna see if I can get it.
I know you can't say much. I know you have like
No, look.
Look at that face. I don't give a shit about them damn. They can kiss my ass. Look at her face. Let me see if I can get. I'm gonna try to enlarge that real quick. I need y'all to see this. Hold up. Her face. Look at her face. Boy, that's the boy. If I had never seen, I don't give a fuck about them face. That is a definition of I don't give a fuck about them face. I don't give a fuck them damn. I don't give a shit about them. They be smearing me since day one. They ain't kiss my ass. Sorry, I just had to. It's hilarious. Hold up, let me get that back. Let me watch the rest of this clip. I'm sorry, y'all. That just is hilarious. I've never seen her really make that face before. That's why it's hilarious. Let's continue with the clip.
No. Look,
Let me interrupt. I
yeah,
want to
sure.
add something to that.
Come in and interrupt.
As the head of the Malibu Democratic Club, a lot of what we've been working on in the last year and a half is to bring our Democrats together.
Yeah.
And we know we can't win unless our Democrats come together. And I'd like to think in Malibu, we're very passionate in Malibu, whether it's a local issue or a national issue. And we used to think that if you opposed us on one issue, you were the enemy. We finally figured out that vigorous debate's good for our country.
That's right.
So now the Democratic Club, we like to think, is a tent under which all Democrats are welcome and respected, including fierce debate. My question for you, which I'll add on to that, is how, we know the fight that went on with Bernie and the Hillary supporters. How would you help Democrats come together this time? So you can answer both questions at the same time.
Sure.
You hear that? She said, "Oh, I want to know is how you gonna help Democrats come together." That's not what the original question was. Are you going to stand up for the people? All of us. Period. All of us. Not Democrat, not Republican, not independent, not liberal, not neoconservative, not libertarian, not Green Party, not anything else in between. The people. This man was concerned about the voters, the people, and the overall goal of unity. Because that's what I think they like. Are you going to unite the people together to fight back against this tyrannical regime that is the Democratic Party? Because that's essentially what it's become. And this woman snatches the mic. No. I want you to answer the question about unity. How you gonna unify the party? Look at how much we've learned. That's why I snatched the mic from him, to show that we're unified with them. Come on. So, just for your personal information, I think his name is Aussie, something to that extent. Don't ask me. I can't remember right now. He's on Twitter. He actually posted a video where Tulsi did answer his question, where she said, "Well, haven't I stood up to the Democratic Party before? Haven't I called them out before?" And he was like, "Well, yeah." She was like, "Okay then." So now this woman is interesting for a couple of reasons, but we're gonna go over that. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about an interview that Pasta Jardula did. Shout out to the Convo Couch earlier this week, a couple of days ago, because he caught her. Her name is Jane Albrecht, and we're going to talk not only about some of this interview, but about who exactly this woman is, and why I found it so fascinating that she was like at a Tulsi event. Apparently she's the president of the Democratic Club in Malibu. And I'm not sure if the event was at the Democratic Club in Malibu, but she was walking around handing the mic to people. And I'm just, like I said, I'm curious to know what her motives are, especially after you hear this interview and especially after I read to you her resume. So let's look at what Craig did, or let's listen to what Craig talked about when he interviewed Miss Jane Albrecht, who took the mic away from that Tulsi Gabbard supporter.
The other day at the Santa Monica Library at the Tulsi Gabbard event, I interviewed Jane Elbrecht, the Malibu Democratic Club president, and I talked to her about accountability versus unity. Take a look. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pastor Jardul, and I am here with who?
Jane Albrecht.
And Jane Albrecht, what do you do?
I'm president of the Malibu Democratic Club.
Well, thank you very much for taking this interview.
You're welcome.
So, there's a couple questions I've been dying to ask you since I saw you on Twitter yesterday, whatnot.
Okay.
You speak of unity.
Yes.
Now, ever since 2016, the day after the election, we've heard Democrats, leaders of the Democratic Party, people like yourself who are leaders of clubs, that we need to unite together.
Yeah.
However, progressives feel that we can't have any unity until we have some accountability. So when you say unity, what in essence do you mean when it comes to unity? Because without accountability, what do we have?
Well, I don't think you have to do away with accountability.
So let me just say that question was awesome, because what is unity without accountability? I mean, right, that says it all, in my opinion. When you have a party that won't even acknowledge what they did in 2016 and then will scream for unity, well, what happened to the unity? I mean, you know that all they would really have to do is address and hold accountable the people who are responsible for 2016. Call them out. And we would be a little bit more, receptive to this idea of unity. I'm not a part of the Democratic Party, but we would still be a little bit more receptive to the idea of it. But when you behave it like she behaved when she took the microphone away from Curry, shout out to Fred, thanks for the name update. It's hard for me to believe that you actually believe in unity. It makes me think that you want something else. Like you want us to fall in line rather than unify. So what she has to say to Craig's question.
In order to have unity. I've found that most Democrats endorse the following: social justice, economic justice, health care for all, education, civil rights, things like that. Mostly what we disagree.
No, not health care for all. We want universal health care that covers all of our shit, all of our necessary medical need. I don't want to hear that health care for all. I don't want to hear that access nonsense, because I know what those buzzwords actually, that's not real health care. I know what health care for all. Obamacare was health care for all. We want real health care. Okay? So just go ahead and don't try to slip that by there. I hate when they do that. They try to slip that shit through. Let's continue.
Is how we get there. So we in Malibu, and Malibu, like many communities, but certainly a wonderful thing about Malibu is that our citizens are engaged and passionate. But like most strengths, it's also your weakness. Yeah. Our citizens are engaged and passionate. So we don't want to squelch debate. We promote debate. We want lively debate. But we wanted to make the Malibu Democratic Club a place where all Democrats are welcome and respected. By that, we don't mean you have to think alike. Yeah. We encourage vigorous debate. But in debating,
we encourage vigorous debate. That's why I snatched the mic out of his hand to tell Tulsi we want unity. That's why, yeah. So she didn't even address him or his question outside of, we're focusing on unity. Well, what happens if they do cheat? Are you going to unify with progressives? That's what I would have loved to hear an answer to. But she didn't say that. She's like, oh, we're unifying. We're unified. We're unified. We're unity, unity, unity. UNITY, Queen Latifah. No, that's not what I heard, though. She just said that what she's done now and what they've done because of 2016. However, what happens when they do cheat? And we've already started to see it happening. So, we've already seen it. But we'll see what happens. Let's continue.
Still debate vigorously, but respectfully, and realize that the person at the other end of the debate, who may differ with you on a particular issue or a particular measure, is not the enemy. Yeah. And actually, the whole history of our country is that you tend to get better ideas if you start listening to each other and put more minds to work on an issue. So that's where we're coming from. We know campaigns are made of passion, and they should be. But I think occasionally we have to step back and say, okay, this was a good campaign, good candidates. And I'm not just talking about 2018, but I'm talking.
I see some of y'all notice that too. She started to look at her watch. She's like, shit, I'm talking in circles. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm really hoping that he just ends this. But nah, Craig, the reason we have Craig do all of our, we have Pasta do all of our interviews because me and Fee, we're a little bit too passionate about the issues, right? So when somebody's full of shit, Fee and I can't, I'm like, my face, I'm like, what the fuck? Come on. That's why I do the analysis stuff. Me and Fee do the analysis. Craig does the interviews because Craig got the poker face. You see Pasta's poker face? Ooh, girl, you full of shit. What y'all don't know, and this is some behind the scenes info that I found out. I found this out yesterday during our meeting. Fiorella was there at the beginning. But once she started talking, Fiorella couldn't take the nonsense. She couldn't take the BS. So she just walks away. So that lets you, like I said, this is why I love Pasta for doing our interviews, because like these type of interviews with these highly suspect individuals, because otherwise they would never get done, because I'm drilling her. If I had that microphone, I'm drilling. What do you mean by this? That's a lie. What are you going to talk about this? Like I would drill her. But Pasta is very professional about his interviews. I love it. And if you've noticed, the reason that she's getting nervous is because she can't just, what is she going to say? Pasta isn't being disrespectful. Pasta's letting her elaborate on her point. He isn't giving her any crazy looks. He isn't insulting her. And so talking herself into, like, she's digging a hole for herself without ever answering the question. And her answer really left more questions for us than answers. But she can't really act angry and storm off and rage quit when Pasta's being as respectful and professional as he is. I think it's funny to see.
About whatever race it is, good candidates, well debated, well fleshed out. Not everybody can win. One person won. Maybe the next person will win the next time. Yeah. And remember that at the end of the day, we need to come together and take back our country. And that's really what it's about.
Well, you talk about coming together, and I still want to stay there. I'm not going to try to just harp on certain things, but once again, like I said, can you show me some examples, though, of some ways that, let's say, establishment or Democratic leaders have reached out to progressives to say, hey, we're accountable for this, so let's not bash each other, let's unify. Because you also did say yesterday that it's important for some of us to come together on the left to beat Donald Trump. There's a lot of people out there who feel, hey, you know what?
We have to do more than come together on the left. Okay. We have to come together. All Democrats will need to come together. It's not going to be an easy race to win. I think we will have a fabulous candidate in the end, but we should never kid ourselves that this is going to be an easy race to win. Yeah. Not only does he have the power of the incumbency, but they have shown that they're willing to stoop to just about anything to win an election. Yeah.
Boy, do you hear the irony in that? She said not only do they have the power of incumbency, but they're willing to stoop to about anything to win an election. Ain't that about? You know, I wish that there was another example I could use to describe maybe perhaps a party that is willing to do anything, to stoop to any level to win an election. Like, I don't know, maybe in Tim Canova's election, right? If somebody destroyed paper ballots when they were subpoenaed by a federal court, and then got away with it with no accountability, and then still was able to run in the next election. If there was examples like that, I feel like her point would be less valid. If there was only examples of the Democratic Party just stooping to the lowest of the low, smearing Tulsi Gabbard, for example, pretending like she's an Assad apologist, pretending as if Joe Biden is the front runner when we know damn well he isn't, when maybe even pretending that Kamala was a front runner, maybe lying about Beto's initial fundraising numbers, and then we come to find out that everything about his initial fundraising numbers were a lie. I don't know. If those are real life examples, then maybe her point would be, bullshit. I don't know. But until we get some real life examples of the Democratic Party doing whatever they can to cheat so they can win an election, I guess we just have to take her word for it. Let's continue.
So our challenge is to come together. And
Can't be the same said for the Democrats in the primaries, that they'll stoop to anything to win elections themselves. I mean, because there was a lot of false flags, a lot of stuff going on in that Democratic primaries. And like I said,
one are you talking about?
I'm talking about 2016, the Democratic primaries. I mean, a lot of people.
Presidential primary?
I'm talking about the Democratic primary. Yeah, the Democratic primary between Bernie and Hillary. A lot of people feel that there wasn't any accountability, and I think that's why we saw that question yesterday at your Democratic club. Is like, hey, if there's no accountability and they cheat us again, will you stand alone? Because a lot of people, and let me just make this one point, a lot of people think that the progressives in the establishment or the centrists or whatever you want to are not going to come together, that a lot of people on the left are now looking for independent votes and libertarian votes, and that's why they stand for Tulsi, because they don't think that we're going to ever come together because there's been no accountability.
I don't think there's been no accountability.
Can you give me an example of some?
If you look at her watch one more time, cause bruh, I don't know if that's like, you know how everybody has a tell? Whenever she's about to say something that's complete and utter bullshit, she go, please, Jesus Christ, let this. I don't know if there's been no accountability. Let's see what she says.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just watching the watch because we're going to get kicked out at a certain point.
Oh man, she said we gonna get kicked out. Yeah, that's why you watching the watch. You're not trying to get up out of here. Come on. It's a less than 10-minute interview. You'll be all right.
I was closely involved in the campaign in 2016. I thought Bernie and Hillary were both good candidates with different strengths.
Name one strength for Hillary. Name one single strength that Hillary Clinton had. She could cheat well, and she knew how to launder money legally, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. And then she also knew how to burn through cash faster than any other candidate that we've ever seen in history. What ones? I can name about 50 off the top of my head for Bernie. Great fundraising, great past, great history, great evolution on certain issues. Did not support the war in Iraq. Like, I mean, in 2016, you could literally name issue after issue after issue that Bernie was better than Hillary on. Hillary had no strength. The only strength that she had, the one strength that she had, was name recognition. But if that's your only strength, bruh, if that's your only strength, you don't have any strengths. Because ask Joe, I don't know how many times, ask Joe Biden how far name recognition will take you in an election where you literally, you're just bad. You're just really bad at what you do. It's not even helping him all that much right now. So let's hear her justify this nonsense.
I supported Bernie, and then when he lost in the primary, I supported Hillary contentedly.
Did you hear that lie? Did you hear that bullshit? Both. Oh, you know she damn lying. I supported Bernie. You did not support Bernie. You did not support Bernie. Like, let's be honest. You did not support Bernie. You are lying. I need to see the receipts. Period.
And I've known Hillary as an official for a long time. Mm-hmm. I think she would have made a good president. She wouldn't have done maybe everything that people that supported Bernie wanted, but she would have been a hell of a lot better than what we've got now.
Mm-hmm. No, she wouldn't have. Everything that we're going through right now, potential war with Iran, ridiculously cozy relationship with Saudi Arabia, regime change war, regime change military coup attempt in Venezuela. You know, we were having some peace talks with North Korea. All that stuff would have been expedited. Before her first term, we would have established regime change, went to war with Iran, and been in war with North Korea within the first 2 to 3 years. So oh, by the way, all these things happening with the immigrants at the border would have been happening. However, there would be no news coverage about it. That is the difference between Hillary's presidency and Trump's presidency. Trump is a miserable, blubbering idiot, but let's be real. John Bolton would have been back under Hillary Clinton presidency. Mike Pompeo would have been back under Hillary Clinton presidency. Mattis would have been back under Hillary Clinton presidency. Elliot Abrams would have been back under Hillary Clinton presidency. And she would have been taking advice from Henry fucking Kissinger. No, it wouldn't have been better. It would have just been covered up better, and you would be off to brunch eating, drinking your mimosas and eating your avocado toast. Let's be honest.
Look at the situation of Gore versus George W. Bush. A lot of people opposed him at the time. They wanted Ralph Nader and others, and it cost us Florida.
Bruh, she really isn't about to use the Ralph Nader. She really just used the Ralph Nader excuse. She really just used the Ralph Nader excuse. Wow. I don't know. Is that a boomer thing? Is that a baby boomer thing, or like a Democratic Party thing? Seriously, I'm curious. Do they really believe that Ralph freaking Nader cost Al Gore Florida, even though we've seen verifiably so that it was just Jeb who caused the Democrats Florida because Jeb cheated for his brother and ensured that his brother won Florida?
Us Florida, it cost us. Who would have been better for the environment, Gore or George W. Bush? Yeah. So I think political change is a gradual process. I think pushing for it and this energy we see, and I think there's no question that the movement that started with Bernie caught on. I pointed out to Bernie supporters at the DNC in Philadelphia how much progress they made in 9 months. Yeah. They felt defeated. I said, you're not defeated. You got huge changes in the DNC rules.
We've got like one huge change that the DNC is now trying to manipulate. They're trying to work around the rules, right? We got one major change, a couple of minor ones, but like the superdelegates are still here. They're supposed to not be talking about who they're going towards, and yet we found out recently they are telling candidates who they're going to support and who they're not going to support. We've started to see numbers coming out showing that. So I think Joe Biden right now is winning the superdelegate race, not by much at this point, but like they're already violating the rules that they put in place. That's not like, and the superdelegates still pick the vice president if they choose to. So let's not pretend as if this is some like, oh, you've earned so much. Yeah, how we've done what we've done so far. We could have done what we've wanted to achieve thus far. It could have been done if Bernie won. And on top of that, we could have been moving on to other pressing matters where lives are at stake at this point, rather than trying to get the same policies passed that we were advocating for in 2016 because you all cheated. So don't placate me. Don't patronize us. We don't need that. We need policies. We need accountability, and we need fairness. If you want unity, if you give us all of those, then maybe we can talk. So to watch the rest of that interview, go subscribe to the Convo Couch. Matter of fact, I'll type it in the section right now. The Convo Couch YouTube channel. Pasta and Fiorella do some fantastic interviews. This is really one of the more groundbreaking interviews. And before I go, I want to read to you all this woman's resume, because I think it's kind of important, just a little bit. Y'all let me know if it's important. Jane Albrecht is a Democratic activist, film industry executive, strategist, attorney, and international relations expert. Jane began her career at the United States International Trade Commission in Washington, D.C., working on trade disputes between countries and industries. She thereafter worked in private practice representing the U.S. interests. What the hell is U.S. interests? Before the White House, the executive branch, Congress, and the federal courts. She subsequently spent 13 years in Brussels and London, representing U.S. interests overseas. For 10 of her years in Europe, she served as vice president of a Motion Picture Association, headquarters for Europe and Africa and the Middle East. I wonder what she was doing there. Probably propaganda. Let's continue. where she worked with filmmakers, distributors, studios, and governments in the region. After returning from Europe, she founded the Albrecht Group for political and policy work in Washington, D.C., and Global Entertainment Network, a consultancy to help filmmakers, producers, creative talent get their products developed, produced, and distributed. Jane has also volunteered for many political and charitable efforts. She worked to help stop the apartheid in South Africa. She helped build the Hartley Merrill International Screenwriting Prize and for screenwriters in Eastern Europe, and she served its board for 10 years. She worked on every presidential campaign since the Clinton campaign in 1992, and she has supported several congressional and state campaigns. Well, she served 2 terms as president of the Democrats of Abroad, Belgium. After moving to California, she worked with Friends of Temescal Pool to find and save a historic community resource and the Palisades that was vital for senior citizens, children, families, and the disabled. Mrs. Albrecht is married to Dr. William Swartout, CTO of USC's Institute for Creative Technology, and lives in Malibu. I'm going to go ahead and just summarize all that for you. If you've ever wanted to know what a deep state operative looks like, that is it. They're for some reason overseas in the U.S., always achieve these extremely high positions. I couldn't really tell you any of her achievements, like outside of what they told me, but like they stay in the background, but like they're in the foreground enough that the people who need to touch them, like reach out to them to get what they need and get what they want, they know how to find them because it's like a little exclusive club. So yeah, that's what deep state looks like. That's her resume. But she's just concerned with unity with everybody, right? That's why her resume seems to be almost exclusively dedicated to helping the Democrats and never holding anybody accountable. And God forbid, I would hate to see some of the movies she's been part of, and I guarantee there's probably a lot of propaganda involved in that. With that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mi Casa Es Su Casa. You can join us again this afternoon. I will be live for our main show with Pasta and Fiorella, and we will be covering some other topics as well. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe to the Convo Couch to see more interviews and to see more coverage from Pasta and Fiorella. And hey, people, remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.